Acting up. The shift to negative fuel. Fuel is the lifeblood of the narcissist. Fuel comes in many forms. It is provided by people. It is dependent upon their status in the hierarchy of the fuel matrix, the method of delivery, and the frequency. These three things combine to cause it to matter to the narcissist. Positive fuel is invariably drawn during the golden period, particularly so when there is the seduction of an intimate partner. As they move from tertiary to secondary and ultimately primary source, they flow with that delicious, edifying, life-affirming, validating, positive fuel. But alas, it cannot last, for the sweetest fuel so pumped out with regularity, with great frequency and in copious amounts, becomes dull, becomes stale. And thus, when there is the interaction between narcissist and primary source, the narcissist will always shift to devaluation for the purposes of drawing the even more potent negative fuel. In some instances, the narcissist, when dealing with secondary sources, will crave, sometimes with the awareness that comes with being the greater or ultra, or simply because the narcissist, where unaware, feels a need for change because they can. The narcissist seeks negative fuel from that secondary source and issues a corrective devaluation. Not only will there be a threat to control that must be nullified, there is the necessity of drawing the sweet, sweet fuel. The shift to negative fuel always occurs in the dynamic between narcissist and intimate partner primary source. I recall one occasion when a particularly upset girlfriend of mine, we'll call her Hannah, descended into one of her typical fits of hysteria. Hannah was an actress. Not a narcissist that acted, but a professional actress. She had been involved in acting since she was a teenager, and had also appeared in a Royal Shakespeare Company production of Hamlet. She played Ophelia. I found this rather apt. She loses her mind over the Prince of Denmark and drowns. Typical self-centered response. Poor Hamlet. His father dies and his mother shacks up with his uncle. Not only this, but his uncle murdered his father and has taken the throne of Denmark, leaving Hamlet cast adrift and mired in woe. His girlfriend, Ophelia, is meant to support him. But what does she do? She gets all worked up about Hamlet, telling her, "Get thee to a nunnery," and climbs a willow tree and falls in the water below and drowns. I found Hannah to be prone to such similar histrionics. Evidently, the narcissistic traits in her were strong, thus the pull to the acting profession. I put it all, of course, down to her being an actress and a desire for everything to be achieved in one take. She was something of the perfectionist. She was meticulous in her preparation for her acting. At first, during the golden period, I would help her and play the other parts to help her learn her lines. After all, I am a consummate actor myself. She was so grateful for my support in this regard, remarking how hard it was to find someone willing to do this, and to do so often and so effectively. Truth be told, I revelled in it. Not only was her gratitude all good fuel, I am, of course, something of the actor myself, and the opportunity to take hold of the script and play a part was something that I relished. I also found it stimulating that the boredom that might occur in the course of a relationship could be addressed with the stimulation of becoming other people. Could it be any better that whilst on a daily basis I pretended to be a number of different people, but she could too? Surely this would mean that she would refresh again and again and maintain my interest. I did not pay much attention to Hannah's delivery, only listening to what she was saying so I knew when to speak my lines. I became too concerned with ensuring I delivered a masterful performance. This would often draw praise from Hannah, and she commented on a number of occasions that I appeared to have missed my calling. All good, positive fuel. I was in agreement. Of course, my expectation that she would maintain my interest through the shape-shifting of being an actress turned out to be her letting me down, for I found myself growing tired of her repeated declarations of how good my delivery was, and instead I sought fresh stimulation and alternative fuel by beginning to look for ways to irritate and annoy her. I knew she put so much effort into her rehearsals and preparations because she wanted the final performance to be outstanding. Whether it was filming for a television show — she has appeared in a couple of rather good British television dramas — or a stage production of a famous play, her performance had to be the best. I often gained the impression that she was doing this in order to outshine me. I may not be recognised anywhere near as much as Hannah, but that did not mean that what she did was better or more important than what I did. Quite the opposite. She needed to be reminded who was the leader and superior in our coupling. In order to do this, I began at first to fluff my lines deliberately or speak when it was her turn to say her line, which drew forth delicious sighs of exasperation. I delighted in her irritation, as I knew that it would soon become annoyance and she would erupt into one of her tirades. I would jump places in the script, say words incorrectly, use the wrong tone for questions and statements, and then I began to hide her script so she could not practice. A meltdown was inevitable, and foolishly she aimed all of this at me. I just continued to make comments that would keep her in a frenzy. You would be surprised to see this waif-like lady, who usually is the picture of serenity on television, react in the way she did. My goodness, did she have a foul mouth on her? And how I loved her to issue those profanities. I rarely became furious with her. Her performances were so gratifying and amusing that I could not generate a spark even when she was blaming me. It was actually easier to keep trying to get it right and purposely messing it up again. Several times I had to exit the room under the pretense of being annoyed so that I could lock myself in the bathroom and stuff my hand into my mouth as I collapsed in paroxysms of mirth, her shrill voice echoing through the house, causing me to be entertained at her annoyance and her frustration. The negative fuel poured from her, all, of course, created by my deliberate performance, or, more accurately, underperformance. The occasion that entertained me the most, and which I began this post by recalling, was when she was rehearsing her part for a 6-part dark drama that was part of a major channel's autumn drama selection. It was a fantastic piece of writing, and Hannah had a chunky part. I got her so worked up as I messed about, murmured the lines, said sections incorrectly, and so on, that she erupted into one of her fits. As the insults flowed, I drank the fuel she poured over me, and then she made a strange croak and gripped her throat. Feigning interest, I went to her side, and she pointed at her throat, eyes filling with tears. It transpired that she had badly strained her vocal cords, and later a doctor instructed her to rest them completely. She could no longer rehearse, and was unlikely to be ready for filming. The producers replaced her with another actress, and dismayed by her fall from such a prestigious production, she did let me down. I sought out somebody else to entertain me.